Hello, everybody, and welcome to this AudioCodes webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Daniel Ray from AudioCodes, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's event. Today, we're going to be speaking about SmartTAP call recording solution, and we've teamed up today with Microsoft. As you know, Microsoft Teams and Teams calling in particular are becoming increasingly popular, and thus the demand for recording solutions is growing as well. And we're going to be discussing our SmartTAP recording solution in the context of Microsoft Teams. We're delighted to have two speakers today. We have from Microsoft, Pete DeDurco, who leads the product marketing for Microsoft Teams calling. And we also have AudioCodes Director of Recording Solutions, Corey Wynn. Now, before we get started, just a few items to bear in mind. We're going to keep all of your speakers' microphones on mute to keep things moving smoothly today, but we still want it to be an interactive event and encourage you to post your comments and questions using the Q&A tab, Q&A button at the top of the screen. Just click on the screen, enter your questions, and we will do our best to answer all of the questions via the Q&A section during the course of the webinar. We're also recording today's webinar, and in a few days, everyone who registered for the webinar will get a follow-up mail, which will include a recording and a link to the recording and a copy of the slides. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Pete DeDurco from Microsoft. Good morning, Pete.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Really appreciate you having me here today. Corey, if we can go to the next slide. Well, let me start by saying that in the hybrid work environments that many of us find ourselves in today, we just don't have the hallway chats and impromptu conversations that are typically so important for staying connected with colleagues and customers. And to help restore those connections, it's pretty clear that there's demand for a robust calling solution. In fact, Microsoft Teams users placed over 650 million calls on Teams during the month of October, which is more than 11 times what we saw in March, which is pretty impressive. And the other thing that we learned is that on average, calls are really just a quarter the length of a typical meeting, making calling a really quick and efficient way to make sure you're staying connected with your colleagues and customers. And so on the next slide, you can see, given the importance of calling, it's really critical to make sure that it's available where you are. And that's why Teams can serve customers globally in over 180 countries for calling services. And since every organization is different, Teams calling gives organizations choice in how they deploy their PSTN service, whether that's with the simplicity of Microsoft Teams calling plans or with operator-provided calling plans in the case of direct routing or our new service, Operator Connect, which will be available in preview shortly. And on the next slide, it's typically helpful to understand how Teams really provides one complete and modern calling solution. So I like to kind of start with this overall architecture slide to make sure that everyone understands how all these pieces and parts come together. Starting at the top, phone system provides that core calling infrastructure and call control capabilities that you need for all of the legacy and innovative calling features that you and your organization rely on. The middle row, which includes Teams calling plans, Operator Connect, and direct routing, provide that PSTN service and phone numbers. And while at the bottom, we have how users actually interact with Teams calling, whether that's using the Teams clients or any number of certified devices. But moving ahead, what I really want to highlight here is that vertical box on the right. So Teams is an extensible platform, and calling is really no exception. We have rich partnerships with system integrators, operators, OEMs, and using Teams APIs, partners are able to build rich integrations with Teams to create an even more customized and powerful experience for users. For example, with compliance recording solutions. And moving ahead to the next slide, you can see that several of our partners, including AudioCodes, have already completed the certification process for their solutions. This certification process is a very lengthy process, and it does ensure that customers can feel confident using these solutions and that they integrate seamlessly and reliably with Microsoft Teams, really mitigating the concerns that you might have trying to integrate solutions. And on the next slide, this compliance recording capability really allows organizations to create administrative policies to stipulate when calls and meetings should be recorded for processing and retention. And what you see here on the right is a bit of an flow overview. Basically, the flow functions such that when a user joins a meeting or call in Teams, Teams will go ahead and complete a policy check to see if a compliance policy is in place. If a policy is not in place, the call will simply proceed as normal. However, if a policy is in place, Teams will attempt to invite the recording solution, which is effectively a bot. And once the bot joins the call, that call can be established with the other party. I know that Corey will share greater details about the SmartTAP 360 Live, but at a high level, this is the overall flow. And it, of course, is important to notify users that they're being recorded, and the notification experience really depends upon how the users join the call. For Teams clients, Teams rooms, and Teams phones, this will be with a visual notification. And for other endpoints and experiences, this notification will be audible, so that everyone understands the situation that they're being recorded. And while this is a bit of a whirlwind tour of Microsoft Teams calling and how rich compliance recording capabilities can be added, on the next slide, we have more resources. If you ever wanted to learn more about Microsoft Teams compliance recording, you can see this link here. You can travel to aka.ms/Microsoft Teams compliance recording. There are certain licensing requirements that are required. So either Microsoft 365 A3 or A5 licenses for our education customers, E3 or E5 for our enterprise customers, or Business Premium for our small and medium business customers, or Office 365 A3, A5, or E3 and E5 licenses. And of course, you can try Microsoft Teams calling for free by following those links below, and they will route you to an experience to actually go ahead and test out Teams. So thank you so much for the time. I hope this is a helpful kind of foundation for Microsoft Teams calling, what we see as important, and how our partner integrations work with Teams. But I'll also be monitoring the chat as well, so please feel free to ask any questions that relate to Microsoft Teams. And with that, Corey, I will go ahead and pass it on to you.
All right. Thanks for that, Pete. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. My name is, as mentioned before, I'm Corey Wynn with the AudioCodes. I'm Director of Recording Solutions for SmartTAP 360, and I appreciate you all joining today to find out a little bit more about compliance recording, Microsoft calling, and then specifically SmartTAP 360. Really, before I get into specifically on SmartTAP, I'd like to talk a little bit about AudioCodes. This is a quick slide of a snapshot into the greater AudioCodes portfolio and how we are evolving to meet organizations' needs. You know, not only through our products like our SBCs, our devices, our gateways, our applications, but also through deployment models and managed services. AudioCodes can not only provide the connectivity that you might be familiar with us providing in the past, but much more in the realm of support and even managed services or training or hosting as you need. And as organizations are moving to Teams, it appears that this type of model is fitting in well with their structure and their organizational approach to management of applications, devices, etc. But focusing more on compliance recording and SmartTAP, there's a few compliance recording drivers that we typically seen in the marketplace. The first one being compliance recording, talking about banking, finance, trading, insurance, etc. Enterprises or verticals that have requirements from government regulations to record. That's what we're talking about when we say compliance recording. Enterprises have to deploy something to capture interactions automatically, centrally, and securely to minimize legal exposure and reduce regulatory costs. So in layman's terms, minimize ticketing or other types of exposure or costs you might realize for not capturing interactions that you should be. The second one would be quality management or quality recording. This is used oftentimes to drive agent efficiency and increase customer satisfaction. Also maybe dispute resolution or just increase the overall experience of a call. What's nice about SmartTAP is we can leverage optimized multi-channel service, whether that's voice, video, content, or chat, to capture those interactions and deliver a better services experience and revenue. And then finally, malicious call recording. This is more of a unique type of recording environment where you might have to record calls based upon that have a threatening nature. And this would align to corporate-driven security standards and enterprise requirements where you might have some certain frontline operators, receptionists, dispatch that could potentially handle malicious calls, and you want to provide them centralized, secure recording to capture these threatening calls and reduce exposure to fraud and minimize financial risk. So we have seen some rising use cases in the recording market, including convenient recording. Usually this is to boost team collaboration with easy and automatic recording of meetings and user sessions. Integration with internal and external applications using the SmartTAP 360 Live API, talking about here on integration within the Teams client, which I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later on. But this allows users to natively record Teams interactions and keep them centralized and secure. But then the other use case is allowing organizations to be more AI ready. Collecting voice communications or other interactions data for later AI-based reasons, speech analytics, transcription, data mining, etc. Really thinking of SmartTAP more as a repository for your organization's interactions that then you can go and allow your different business units to do things with, whether that is doing specific keyword searching or product searching for marketing, doing other business analytics for your services department, transcription, etc. SmartTAP exportability and interoperability with other AI companies allows organizations to be that AI ready. SmartTAP 360 has the ability to record everything you'd like for it to record, whether that's voice, video, chat, content, or as limited of those that you'd like. You might have just video users or just voice users. We give you the ability to capture everything you need, but not more than you want to. And capture anywhere, whether that is internal, external, direct routing, calling plans, mobile interactions, whether the user is operating a Teams supported hard phone, having a call or an interaction on the soft client on the desktop or on your mobile device, capturing any types of those organizations, any types of those interactions. And built and certified for Microsoft Teams. We're really proud about this. We're one of just a few manufacturers worldwide to have this. The importance of this specifically in the collaboration or the compliance realm is, again, making sure that you have a product that is tested and certified so you are mitigating and minimizing any risk that your company might have or exposure that you might have because of these interactions that you have to capture. The importance of a certified application is very crucial to compliance officers, security officers, etc. Some of the advanced key features of SmartTAP 360 align to the MiFID II, GDPR, requirements, and also e-discovery. So we provide features within the Teams application for manual pause and resume for PCI compliance. If you have your agents or UC workers perhaps taking credit card information or social security information or other things that you can't capture, having manual pause and resume within the Teams client is something we provide, which we'll show you about here in just a little bit. Announcement capabilities. This is now provided a little differently in the Teams application where you're going to get two-party consent either through visual or audible notifications by the Teams client. So letting both parties know the call is being recorded or having the option to turn it off if you need to as well. Providing dedicated deletion and retention policies, various flexible different policies based upon users. If you need to keep some interactions for 6 years, other interactions for 3 months, we've got various different policies that can be defined within SmartTAP, and then integrating also to various different storage locations. If you want to have a single storage for all interactions, we would support that. But then if you need to keep in-country data for GDPR concerns or maybe to some other type of worm storage, integrations into those too, so that you can adhere to any GDPR compliance concerns you may have. And then finally, providing audit trail and searchability tools so you can go back to interactions after they've happened and search based upon users, dates, times, number of different parameters to pull interactions, listen to them, share them with other colleagues for e-discovery. Here are a few different user experiences or user views, agent views of the SmartTAP 360 client within the Teams application. SmartTAP 360 is not only fully certified through Teams, but we natively integrate with Microsoft Teams at a few levels. So our Azure Active Directory for accessibility, and then application integration for user accessibility through single sign-on through the Teams application. What you're looking at here is a few different views based upon the user's profile. We do support 3 profiles with SmartTAP, and a system can have any mixture of these profiles, but a user can have one of these at a time. The first one is Save on Demand. Sorry, we're going to go into full-time recording first. So this is the ability to have an agent have full-time recording, but then also a pause and resume for PCI compliance. You don't have to turn this on for users. This could be restricted where they do not see this if you do not want to give them this pause button. But if they are a full-time recorded user that has PCI compliance, this is their view. They're getting some call details. They have the ability to pause and resume the call. They have the ability to tag the call with information as well to give it other specific metadata to search on after the fact. You can see all of this is within the Teams application. It's a SmartTAP app that's resting in the left side panel. Go back, sorry. The next view is going to be record on demand. This would be more oftentimes done for a maybe insurance company if you're getting a witness statement or order verification where you need to record just a segment of the call. Or maybe even it's also used in terms of that discretionary recording or collaboration recording where there's just some calls that you'd like to capture. We've got a record button as well as the same call details within the Teams client. It's just listed as a different profile for those users. So they could start to record with just a click of a button, then that would dynamically change to pause once they finish capturing that section of the call they would like to. Then finally, save on demand. With save on demand, the user will get that floppy disk icon where they could decide to save the call at any point during the call or just a few minutes after the call. So what's actually happening is the bot is capturing all the information, but only writing to storage the interactions that you decide to save. So if you're thinking about this in a malicious call recording environment, an operator may take hundreds of calls a day, but only a percent or a fraction of a percent of those calls are actually malicious. Well, you don't want to capture and keep you don't want to keep all of those interactions, but you also do want to keep the entire interaction when you need to. So with Save on Demand, it allows the operator to now click the calls that are malicious, capture the entire portion of it, and not have to worry about keeping the calls that are not malicious. One of the biggest features or advantages of SmartTAP is our deployment agility. At the end of the day, it's all about solution agility. And in this case, we tool the famous saying, the customer is always right, and to the extreme. With our SmartTAP 360, we can adapt to literally any deployment requirement asked by the customer, and all of them as a service. We can still provide it in a CapEx format, but with the Microsoft Teams approach, organizations are getting more comfortable in embracing the operational or as a service type mode, which again, we can host or we can deploy SmartTAP to match that. If hosted by the customer in their Azure, we can support that deployment, or if hosted by a partner in their Azure on behalf of the customer, we can support that. Or even if they would like AudioCodes to host it and just allow permissions to their Teams tenant, we can provide that as well. So any different type of mode, and managed services can be wrapped around in any of those modes as well. If you would like to host the application but have someone else manage it, that is on the table, as well as partner or AudioCodes. The first of those scenarios that we're going to look at is the classical recording solution as a service when the solution is completely in Azure, whether that is in customer Azure, partner Azure, or AudioCodes Azure. There's a few different components you're looking at here, but how it would actually happen is whenever a compliance user, and Pete talked a little bit about this, but when a compliance user starts to establish a call and they meet the compliance requirement or profile, the bot's automatically going to join that call if available. The bot will take that information, take that interaction, take that metadata, and send it over to centralized SmartTAP for storage, access, and retrieval. Nothing is loaded on the user's workstation. Nothing is saved on the user's workstation. Nothing has to be done by the user for the recording to happen. It happens all automatically and is then stored centrally for privacy, for accessibility, for all those good pieces. This can be in-country instances of Azure if you do have GDPR concerns and you need to keep some data perhaps local to Germany or China or Canada, or you can maintain global storage if you don't have those GDPR concerns. And again, this can all be provided as a managed service if you would like, where we take care of patching, administration, upgrades, etc., with proactive monitoring to let you know, to oftentimes identify and resolve the problem, the issue, before you are even aware of it. But for those larger customers who might prefer to have recording solution on-prem or perhaps a hybrid solution, as maybe their legacy recording solutions, we offer the following mode where the storage and recording server is hosted in their private data center while the bot is still going to be as mandated by Microsoft in Azure, in their Azure. So this would leverage the bot now sending the information, the metadata, the recording to storage elsewhere outside of Azure if you've got some large repository that you're leveraging. When we're having these conversations, it's also come up as far as data security, cloud security. Our data, our information, whether it's hosted in your Azure or in our Azure, is going to be encrypted while in transit and at rest. Data security at rest, the SmartTAP data at rest is inactive data that is stored physically in digital form. As such, call records and media, it is stored encrypted utilizing, disk storage, storage encryption, and application level encryption of the media. And then data in transit, SmartTAP's data in transit is flowing through the communication network between the various systems, and SmartTAP's data is in transit using TLS and SRTP. So you can be fully confident that your information, your interactions are encrypted and cannot be accessed in any easy way by unauthorized persons. SmartTAP does also support rule-based access control, where you can provide or restrict access to information based upon users' profiles, security profiles for agents, supervisors, administrators, etc. As mentioned before, the different modalities that we do support, SmartTAP does support voice, content, and as our latest release, video and chat, which we're really proud to have. With video, we are supporting peer-to-peer calls. Let me zoom in on this to show you what that would look like a little bit, where you're going to have up to 4 different screens presented, so you can see that video compliance capture or quality management capture as you'd like. The audio file will be loaded just underneath the video, so you can play both of them back, at the same time. Video conferencing with up to 4 presenters can be shared as well. I'll show you what that looks like here, where you've got your 4 different video screens up at the top, and then the content of what was being shared down below, where you can see both informations happening as far as what was being spoken of and what was being presented of at the same time. Then Teams chat recording with file transfer. We're going to not only get the chat that was presented, but also the file that's being shared of, and you can search for that based upon users, dates, time range, etc., that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. We're now able to capture the Teams chat and file share specific compliance users that have been defined with chat capture. And then finally, Teams chat recording snapshot. One of the ways that we have evolved this feature is to record chats of defined compliance users only. With some of the chat systems you find out there, you might have found that if you are recording a user's chat, a compliance user's chat, you're actually recording not only their chat but who they're chatting with. That's not the approach we took with SmartTAP. That's a key difference that we are proud of. We're only recording a compliance user's chat, not the other person that they are chatting with, because that person has not given consent and they may not want their chats recorded. So we have structured and built the application to be as such, where we're really only going to capture information that you have supplied as being information you need to capture, no more and no less. Sorry, 1 second. So what's next as far as SmartTAP? We're proud to be announcing and unveiling SmartTAP Analytics as a service, which should be coming out the second half of 2021, where we'll have full transcription, keyword searching, sentiment analysis, and then also some features that had been in the SmartTAP, our Skype for Business and SIPREC integrations that will be coming out shortly on SmartTAP Teams API integration will be live monitoring, so giving agents the ability to silently listen in and monitor calls as needed. And then also ones that are very important to customers and large enterprises out there are multi-country storage. So being able to provide distributed storage for organizations that operate in different countries, but also still giving them a single pane of glass of access. So they only have to go to one search, retrieval, and playback application, but they can pull interactions from various different storage buckets or repositories and still allow them to maintain GDPR and compliance. And then finally, bring your own storage for organizations that might want to have a managed application, but then leverage their own storage that they've got and have the two applications sync up that way. That's planned on being supported the second half of 2021. So with that brings us to the end of our presentation. I wanted to thank everyone for joining. I'm going to hand it back over to Daniel. But again, thank you for your interest in SmartTAP 360. We'd be happy to perform a live demonstration or talk with you about trialing and testing the application if you would like to give it a whirl. But thank you for your time today, and please continue to ask questions and we'll get them answered as quickly as possible. Daniel, back over to you.
Thank you, Corey, and thank you, Pete, both for your great presentations today. On behalf of AudioCodes, I'd like to thank everyone for joining the webinar today. And I just wanted to remind you that the webinar has been recorded, and we'll be sending you all an email in a few days' time with a link to the recording and the slide deck for you to download and to listen to again. And if you have any questions or thoughts you'd like to share with us, you're welcome to contact us directly at any time. So thank you very much once again. Have a great day and keep well. And we look forward to having you join us soon in any future AudioCodes events. Have a good day. Goodbye.